There's naught behind these covenant doors for a worldly type like you, missus. We're the dutiful sisters of the Elderwis, a pure and saintly like. Now bugger off. Hang about. I thought you was just some simple errand lass, but now I've had a proper look at you. You're Tolucc, ain't you? I knew it. Something about milling primals leaves its mark on a person. It does. Anyway, you being who you are, you must have an inkling as to what goes on here, eh? The Admiral sent me to meet with one of them associates in business with Leviathan, if you recall. That's right, lass. You stand at the entrance to the Rogues Guild. Of course, 'twould be a sort of underground organization if we put a bleeding sign up on the front door. Anyway, from what the Lady Yurgri told me, you're pretty handy in the scrap. She's off seeing to some private business right now, but I reckon we might have some use for a prime lass like you. If you have an interest in joining us, just bust your daddles and we'll put a hilt in each one, just like the gods intended. So what do you say? Fancy learning a new trade? Good to see you're keen, but I should probably warn you on a few points before you dive in. Where most guilds take pride in turning their members into the best bloody candlestick makers they can, we only care about getting the job done. And the job ain't pretty. You become one of us and you'll soon be neck deep in scumming knife fights. So if you're looking to scamper across Rooptoft and blick dandlies on their blunt, you'd best take up with a different crew. Think on that and come back if you're still keen. Lowward would have you reaffirm your desire to join the Rogues Guild. I didn't scare you off then? B&A. They told me you was a meddlesome lass, and so it's proved. You'll need every ounce of that metal soon enough. Now step inside and have a prattle with Jack. He's our upright man, the master of the guild. You looking to head inside? Hi, I'm the one they call Jack, though I'm surprised you heard of me. Perhaps you'd be good enough to tell me your name along with what kind of cuddly cove has told you mine? Ah, the famous Tolucc. Old Lonnie Leftplatch let you in, did he? He can't throw a blade for shite, but one eye don't miss naught when it comes to sizing up a dimmer mort for the stallin'. Just one thing, you ain't a pirate, are you? Well, then it's time we installed you to a rogue. Pull on your best beater cases and I'll swear you in myself when you're ready. Now, I could fill your whittles with storied history of our guild, but that's just winds and wind. The most important thing, the only thing we care about, is getting the job done. Now, most folk, and I'm assuming you're among them, know not long after Limsa's founding, the city was overrun by a motley collection of pirates and thieves. But as wild as that lot were, it soon became clear that they'd end up killing up each other if they didn't lay down a few rules. An unspoken code of conduct, as it were. 1. You don't bite the purses of the fellow Laminsons. 2. You don't rook a crew out in spoils. And 3. You don't trade coals like they was cattle. I'll admit that the finer points of the code are might murky, but most agree on those 3 at least. Now you might be thinking, none of that amounts to a sack of dillberries now that the Admiral's outlawed piracy, but back in the alleys and black markets where Merlewhip's grip ain't so tight, the code's still alive and well. And just as the laws is enforced by the Yellowjackets, the code is regulated by us rogues. We go where the shadows are darkest and hand out justice to them as break the code. Some rum-soaked cove steals good from the wrong coal and we steal him back. That's the job, my natty lass. Of course, we don't hop the twig when Bladewood's called for neither. You'll see there's more to our dagger play than just sticking coals with the pointy end. We'll weaken a mark with poison, fade away and strike in the Darkmans, whatever it takes to get the work done. Well, Tolucc, what do you say to that? Got the guts to do a rogue's job? Alright then, first off, we'll have to get you your kit sorted out. A rogue needs to be light on her dew beaters to stay on a mark's trail. The job might have you fighting across the deck or weaving through a mob, and the last thing you want is a bleeding great battle axe that hooks itself on every rope and post. That's why we stick to daggers. They let you slip through the streets just as easy as they slip through a rook's ribs. Here, take these stabbers and let's see how they look on you. Just don't get so excited with your new toys that you forget to dress for the role. You'd be surprised at how many colts come back to me in their bloody small clothes. Jack wishes to give you a few pointers on dagger play. Managed to strap those daggers on without cutting yourself? Well, we're off to a good start, I'd say. Next, you'll want to get a feel for the weight and speed of your new weapons. I reckon those bleating sheets in the fields outside Limsa would serve for your first lesson. Aye, test your blades on a few of them lambs and slice up some rats and pugils for good measure. Mind ye that the mill and the beasties one at a time, though, lass. I know you served far worse in the past, but you're no dimmer dammer with those stabbers just yet. You looking to head inside? Done with your milling, are we? You can never have enough blade practice, lass. In fact, I'll even add to a list of marks to your hunting log. Put yourself against the lot and you'll soon learn that a new step's for your dance with the daggers. Aye, you must think of yourself as a dancer, not a bleeding butcher. You only need so much as a force to ram a short blade into the hilt. Precision and speed, that's how you get the most out of your stabbers. Bulky armor will only have you plodding about like an ungainly oryx, so make sure you're wearing gear that'll let you move freely as well. Alright, get your blade work up to scratch, Tolucc, and I might just have a job for you. Jack appears eager to give you your first assignment. Oh there, Tolucc. I must say you're looking comfortable enough with those stabbers of yours. Aye, I reckon you're good and ready for your first assignment. Ordinarily, I'd stow me wids and let you get on with your work, but seeing as we only just dragged you into the shadows, there might be a couple of things what you ain't yet familiar with. Let's build on what you likely do know, and that's the fact that the Admiral, God bless her soul, has outlawed piracy in Limsa Lominsa. So why do you think there are so many plodding pirates in this town? I'll tell you why. It's because there's still one way for them to loot and pillage without incurring the wrath of the law. All you need to do is apply to serve the Thalassery as a certified privateer. A captain with a privateer's license is free to terrorize the seas till the Aldogoats come home, so long as he only targets vessels what belong to the Garlean Empire. Of course, considering how bloody vast the Empire is, that's plenty of looting to go around. Crews fill their holds with Imperial plunder, then sail back to Limsa to offload their spoils. And that's where this particular case went sour. See, this one crew got to the Fambles on Magitech device, a firing mechanism to be precise, but was rooked out of their hull by some heavy-handed coves. If you recall, that don't sit well with the code. If you're bold enough to rook a pirate out of his due, then you best be prepared to visit him from the rogues. Ah, and speaking of visiting rogues, Underfoot, over here, lad. I want the pair of you working together on this. Pass sentence on them code-defying rooks and bite back that Magitech part. What's the last need me for? You're in charge of new recruits, ain't you? That's Tolucc's first assignment. You're to go along and give her the benefit of your wisdom. Since when I in charge of new... Ah, bugger. So I guess we're to be partners for now. The name's Paramu Haramu, but most of the fellas here call me Underfoot. You might seem a touch reluctant, but Paramu is one of our best. You just do as he says and you'll get the job done. Alright then, me young rogue, seeing as this is your first official outing, I want to be sure your dance steps are up to the task. With them short blades, you need to get in good and close to your mark, eh? But we ain't bleeding swads in shining armor, and the lighter kit we wear ain't much protection from a click to the gan. So if you don't fancy spitting blood and teeth, your best defense is simply not being there when your mark winds up to land a nasty clout. Sliding round to a flank usually does the trick, but there's some rum fun every rogue should master, the shade shift. Clear your mind and trust in your speed, and you can leave the axe-wielding brute chasing your shadow while you bury your stabbers in his guts. Right now, it's the time to put the lesson into practice against some of those Arlean out in Lower Lenosia. I hope you was paying attention last, cause those tentacles can pack a wallop. Enjoy! You looking to head inside? Done with your practice then. The sting of them tentacled buggers it'll teach you soon to stay on your toes, eh? Now that we've got your blood rushing, I'd say it's time to get down to work. First things first, we need to track down them addled coves what rooked that Magitech gadget. Might be as one of our rogues has heard something. The guild thrives on information, you see, and we've agents scattered far and wide with their glazes keen on their wattles to the ground. Let's pay a visit to Tolucc in the Drowning Wench. Ask for her for a weak ale and see what she gets you. I'm not setting up you for a laugh, lass, trust me. Welcome to the Drowning Wench. What's your pleasure, miss? Never in all my days. We may serve some cheap grog on the wench, but not that was watered down. If our usual ale is too bold for your taste, mayhaps you'd like to order from the underground menu? Aye, there's quite a lot to offer for a customer with your roguish charms. Was there something in particular I could help you with? The trouble over the Magitech loot. 'Twas not a subtle job. The gang in question is in a usual group of former pirates calling themselves the Dainty Demolishers. They seem to be enamored of court dandy mannerisms and have a preference for seizing Garlean machinery. They're also known for conspiring with goblins. Rumors say that the Demolishers visit a beastman camp in Middle Lenosha to fence their goods. And those goods generally take the form of Imperial technology. I imagine the goblins were rather pleased to take possession of a Mark 43 anti-aircraft cannon firing mechanism. If you mean to steal the device back, then your trail needs the goblin camp in Summerford. Summerford, eh? On your way, lass. Meet me across the river from the camp and we'll plan our next move. Get your noggin down, Tolucc. I've been snitching the action since way away here. No sign of the Demolishers, but I did see one of them gambler cove stuffing the Garlean gadget into his backpack. I knew a Talon would steer us all right. This is a year chance, lass. Clout that gambler gobby and grab that device. I've lost track of which gob it was, but I'm thinking it was the sod on the left. Just make sure you dance away from any bomb blasts. Twisting and dodging in the middle of a fireball ain't exactly effective. That's the way, lass. There was naught for me to do but sit on my daddles and watch. So, you've got the goods then? Aye, this device, and no mistaken. Let's get it back to the guild, eh? We still owe Demolisher bastards a million, but they'll keep for now. Here, you should be the one to deliver the prize to Jack. It was your hand that snatched it out of the goblin's paws, after all. Captain! Captain, I say! Some fiend has penetrated our violence upon our goblin colleagues whilst we sought but to wet our throats with some fine liberations. This will not stand, Captain. Our finely flitched loot has been pilfered from under our noses. Blast and bother! My blood boils and bubbles at the temerity of this affront. I know not the identity of these audacious buffoons, but they shall soon be made to pay and pay dearly. With me, my fine fellows. Huzzah! You looking to head inside? You managed to grapple that firing mechanism yet, Tolucc? Ah, and still in one piece, too. You've done well for your first assignment, lass. It don't look like much, but that crew put their lives on the line to cloy this here bauble. They'll be pleased to see it snatched back from the Ruffmans. We've yet to do for the dainty demolishers, Jack. This job ain't over. You're right, Underfoot. It ain't. You break the code, you face the consequences. Oh, this is not all what I expected from the inside of a convent. And who might you be, sirs? Haha, your ignorance is understandable. After all, our schemes are always perfect, our heists impeccable. Shall I reveal our infamous name and drink in your delicious terror? We are deadly, dastardly, and dictionally devilish. Quail before the dainty demolishers. Captain, Captain, I say, there's the louse who misappropriated our merchandise. I concur, she is the self-same simpleton whom we've trained unnoticed to this very establishment. Surprise, surprise! Now, my dear dandies, let us not be unpleasant. We should endeavor to resolve this distastefulness without resorting to insults or other less diplomatic methods. At least not yet. You there. Yes, the clean-cheeked errand boy. Be a good fellow and fetch me your superior. One of your colleagues has committed a terrible crime against us, and we shall not be leaving until the proper restitution has been paid. Oh, an errand boy now, am I? Tell me, Captain, just what kind of place do you think this is then? This place? Why, I suppose it is some manner of convent. The one-eyed doorman named it the Dutiful Sisters of the Edelweiss, or some such. And you've yet to realize your mistake? Your fate was sealed the moment you dragged your sorry quarren across the threshold. Are you threatening me, boy? I'll have my fellows cut out that impudent tongue. We've exhausted our reserves of dainty today, lads. Show these fraudulent sisters how the demolishers deal with upstarts. You still don't understand, do you? There are but three sorts of coals with the doormen let pass. Clients, recruits. God spit! I'll kill you all! Didn't your mom teach you not to interrupt a lady when she's talking? You'd have learned that the third sort of colleague is the bullocks for brains mark, what marches himself right into the rogue's den. Rogues? But we were so careful. I'd heard tales in my pirate days, stories about the merciless wraiths who uphold the code. They weren't called rogues back then, though. The upright thieves. They were the knives in the shadows. You can't be them. You're just trying to scare me. Well, the captain of the dainty demolishers is not so easily cowed. To the hells with your deceptions. Huzzah! Huzzah for my fallen comrades! Deceptions? Aye. Anyone you meet could be a rogue, Captain. And even a clean-cheeked errand boy. He's still breathing. Find some rope and string him up someplace in town. And now the job's done. Quite an introduction you had there, eh? Welcome to Limps and Laments' ever-churning underbelly, where the thieves shed their skins and become rogues. I'm not much for discussing the old days, but since it's come up, I might as well clear up the confusion. It was back when piracy was at its peak. The coves what protected the code were dimber dambers, the best lads and lasses to be had among from the pirate crews. They bit back the goods what was wrongly bitten and came for the guilty under cover of darkmans. Upright thief became the title for these coves, what dealt with sanctioned stealing and milling. But it was only those that had a cut at tall ties with the buccaneer's life what was accepted into the ranks, conflicting loyalties and all that. They formed their own guild and even their own way of speaking, and what was once pirate was pirate no more. Later on, when Merle Webb took the admiral's chair, the upright thieves agreed to abide by her laws. We became the Rogues Guild, to mark the change and altered our recruiting policy to accept venturers like yourself. But although the title is different, the job remains the same. Uphold the code and preserve the underground society what spawned us. Just as you've done with this assignment, keep up the good work, Tolucc, and you'll get far in shadows. Jack has another assignment for you. A fine evening to you, Tolucc. And a fine evening it is for a spot of work, wouldn't you agree? This time around, it seems some eager buccaneers scampered aboard a local merchantman and made off with a shipment of muskets. Now, seeing as it ain't lawful to cloy from a Laminson vessel to begin with, the Yellowjackets fell upon them daft cubs before the boot was even dry. Aye, they caught the pirates right on the docks, but the stolen boomsticks was nowhere to be found. Fenced in a longboat deal, I'm thinking. That's when our guild was officially contracted to retrieve the goods, which weren't really needful since the code would have had us on the job anyway. You don't bite the purses of your fellow Laminsons and all that. So this year's assignment, Minetta lass, find out where them weapons went and bite that shipment back. Seeing as the cutters as hit that merchantman are already rotten in irons, you needn't rush in with your stabbers and stabbing. I just want this job handled quick and quiet, and I have the perfect partner to show you how it's done. This here's Vekib, the Stray. Ain't no other rogue what can match her in the arts of skulking. A pleasure. There's some problem, Vekib? You seem a bit out of sorts. I'm bloody starving. I had one of them finger sandwiches set aside, you know? Those egg-filleted tasties that make it Bismarck. But when I got back from my work, it was bloody gone. Uh-oh, that was Vekib's. I thought it was Underfoot's. Well, you just had it out on the job, and I'll see if I can turn up that missing sandwich by the time you return. All right, Jack. One more detail you should know. Them muskets was meant for the Yellowjackets' armory, so once all is bobbed, you can hand the goods to one of the caracoles directly. We can start whenever you're ready, Tolucc. I've had a colleague's keeping a waddle out for aught that might help us, so I suggest that you have a few wins with her first. You'll find her at the Heinlein, posing as a fishmonger. Hello there, miss. We've carp and trout, lobster and shrimp, but I hear tell you've been looking for a special breed of fish. The long, shiny kind, what's bark will put a bloke on its arse. We don't sell that kind here, but you might try them foreign merchants. What was that called again? The Traders of the Edge? They hail from the South Sea Isles and are known for dealing in all types of nasty splitters and cutters. I should warn you, these folk ain't ones for questioning the source of their merchandise. In fact, they seem more than happy to pay for the goods what came from below decks, so to speak. But if you're still keen to get your hands on them rare fish, you'd best hurry. The edge merchant what's visiting Limpsa is looking to load up and leave the city before long. Just our means to transport his goods remains a mystery, though. What with all the iron blades and he's got nursing his operation, it makes it hard for a girl to get close to eyeball the competition it does. I'll be sure just to keep an eye peeled on your behalf, but it might be as you can learn a little more from the folk around town. Traders of Edge, eh? Well, if one of their merchants been staying in the city, then someone will know someone then to point us in the right direction. The trick is to listen without being seen. You'd be surprised at how cults cackle when they think no one is about. We'll focus on places to see plenty of traffic. You can have the Bismarck, the ferry docks, the East Hawker's Alley. I'll try me luck at a few other spots, then meet you in the front of the guild when I'm done. Remember, keep hidden, keep quiet, and keep your wattles open. The sneer on that customer's face. Does he think I can command the skillet to cook more swiftly just to meet his pressing departure schedule? I don't know how things are done in the South Seas, but here in Limsa Laminsa, folk appreciate that fine cuisine cannot be rushed. Come now, Dove, you must not speak ill of the patrons. Now what was on next on my list? Ah, another finger sandwich for the dutiful sisters. Someone there must be rather fond of eggs. You have quite an eye for quality, sir. We have a splendid range of produce from every corner of Eorzea, but one simply cannot visit Limsa Laminsa without sampling some of the local specialties. Would you care for some freshly squeezed Lenosian orange juice? Or perhaps our famed salt cod is more to your taste? Curse my sense of duty. Would that I had stayed at the wench for the extra pint instead of returning early. I didn't ask to see anyone being bribed, and certainly not my relief pilot. I wonder what the merchant was about. Smuggling? Most likely. Should I report this to the Yellow Jackets? But if I'm being watched, I could end up face down in the harbor. Welcome back, Tolucc. I hope your skulking went well. You might be an angel of death with the daggers, Dove, but any rogue what shuns the shadows is heated for an early grave. A sneaky mort can nose about without risking a scrap or slip himself into the best position to ambush a mark. Once they've seen you, though, your rum fun is done. Hiding is part of concealment and part distraction, and you won't be disappearing on a cove that already knows you're there. Alright, I'm done prattling. What'd you manage to learn about our musket buying merchant friend? Slipping coin to a ferry pilot, was he? And from what you heard that chef at the Bismarck, the trader means to hop the twig and soon. That matches with my own findings. He's vacated his rooms at the inn and paid his dues in full. Being a merchant, we can be sure he won't be leaving without his merchandise. So here's the plan. We wait for him to snack his goods on the pier, then you ghost in and grab all the firearms. I'm hoping we can get the job done quiet and under cover of darkness, but it never hurts to be prepared for the worst. Sounds like he's got a small army of sellswords on the payroll. I'll send word to the Yellow Jackets and have him post Cole near Hawker's Alley. That way he won't have far to bolt once you've bitten the goods. That mark should be along any moment, Tolucc. Have you got your skulking boots on? No, you're not supposed to be here. I thought I ordered my hirelings to keep this jetty clear. 1, 2, 3. There's one missing. My crate of muskets. It's gone. Thief! Stop her, you useless sluggards! What am I paying you for? That turned hairy, didn't it, Dove? Once you reach the Yellow Jacket, though, the merchant called off his blades. Wise enough to cut his losses, I'll give him that. I'd say we're all done here. Let's head inside and tell Jack the Ben the news. I heard the sounds of fighting coming from the outside, and now I've whittled the cause of it. I thought we were aiming for subtle on this job. That many swads was there? But you got the yellow jackets what they wanted, so all's well that ends well, eh? You're on your way to becoming a first-class rogue, Tolucc. Aye, the job didn't unfold exactly as planned, but you do see the value of keeping out of the sight. Skulking might seem slow, but it can save you time and a fair amount of bleeding in the long run. Speaking of unexpected developments, I have a bit of bad news for you, Vikeb. I've searched high and low, but it seems some unprincipled cove has yaffled your sandwich. There was naught but crumbs to be found. No, my sandwich! It was a Bismarck special. Do you know how much I was looking forward to that meal? My belly's about to ready to cave in on itself. This is a tragedy of the highest order, love, and you know I can't bear to see me rogues in such distress. So I gave Underfoot a special assignment. He should be back any moment now. With a freshly made Bismarck special finger sandwich. You did that for me? You're not japping with me, are you, Jack? This ain't no japping matter. This is a guild master's responsibility to see all his coves and morts are at the best for their job. Aw, Jack, there you are. I've got that sandwich you ordered. And didn't the chef give me a waddleful when he said I was in a hurry? Maybe next time you could think twice before you yaffle your fellow rogues. Oh, bollocks. Jack, did you eat my supper? Now, lass, let's not be hasty. There's a fresh new sandwich right here for you. No harm done, eh? You've cloyed something what belonged to me, Jack, and I can't ignore the code. Hey, the code. We mustn't ignore the code. You're having a laugh, aren't you, lass? Lass? Ah! That might be the swiftest string-up I've ever seen. A punishment to fit the crime. Take a long, good look, Tolucc. The code exists to preserve Pierce and Limsa, to keep the alleys from running red with blood. This city's me home, and I'll draw daggers on any cove fool enough to threaten that peace. A pointed lesson. Let's head inside, eh? Your sandwich will get cold. Hey, do you leave to mean here all night? At least you give me my grand view of the harbor. God's best, these ropes are tight. And now we find ourselves indebted to the Rogues Guild. The Rogues Guild. The impropriety of it all. Or that I could see them occupying a cell next to those thieving pirates. You looking to head inside? Ow. Them ropes will leave chafe marks for a bleeding week. I may have wriggled myself free, but that's the last time I let my belly do the thinking. And just think, Vikeb strung me up over an egg sandwich. Those coves and what'll truly stomp on the code if they get far worse. Keep up your training, lass, and you'll soon be handing out rogue justice for yourself. Jack wishes to bring you in on a tricky assignment. Tolucc, just the morn I was hoping to see. We've some nasty trouble brewing. The client's on his way, so sit tight and pay attention. I'm calling Underfoot and the Stray on this as well. It'll be a right little rogue family reunion. Jack, the client's arrived. Our guest here has come from Maelstrom Command with confidential orders direct from the Admiral herself, so you know this won't be a simple job. I'm afraid your guildmaster speaks truly. 'Twas several days ago when an emancipated man stumbled into one of our camps seeking aid. Upon questioning the poor fellow, we discovered that he had narrowly escaped a life of slavery. He claimed that pirates had raided his village, abducting him and many others to sell on a black market auction block. We dispatched a patrol to confirm the tale and found the village almost completely destroyed. 'Twas a meager settlement without so much as a guardhouse. Thus did its unkind fate escape our notice until now. You think these pirates would never heard of the code? Pillaging honest coals and dipping their wicks in the slave trade? They're heading the right way for a good stabbing. Aye. Though it ain't set down in so many wids, the code's notoriously unforgiving against those that raise a weapon against the weak. After all, the first pirates in these parts were Coles, what with first fleeing oppression in the northern seas. Ignore your history and you risk becoming what it was you hated the most. Yeah, so you've got a mark for us then? That we do. From the descriptions given to us by the escaped villager, we've determined that these lawbreakers are members of the Jolly Merchants, a pirate crew in possession of an official privateering license. It would appear, however, that privateering has been naught but a screen behind which to hide their illicit activities. One can only imagine how many other lamented citizens have fallen prey to these wicked slavers. And we've let it happen right under our very noses. Naturally, the Admiral desires a swift resolution to this ignominy, but merely tracking down those poor souls who have already been sold and proving heavily taxing to our allocated resources. We could throw more soldiers at the problem, but that runs the risk of drawing the small folks' attention and inciting undue panic. Thus we do come to the Rogues Guild for help. We ask that you eliminate the Jolly Merchants and liberate the villagers presently in their custody. And that you do so with the utmost discretion. Consider it done. When those nasty coves will feel our short blades pricking into their backs, they'll enjoy but a brief moment of regret before the code is rightly enforced. Alright, let's get to work. I'll be going after the Jolly Merchants myself. Underfoot, Vikip, you two lend your skills to the Maelstrom's investigation and see what you could whittle about the coals what we've already been sold. Tolucc, you're coming with me. I think you're ready for the next step of your education. Shall we get after these slaving cutthroats then? Our client tells me that the Jolly Merchantmen set sail from the L-port a few bells ago. Oh, aye. They may even board an Imperial ship or two, but that's just a mummery they're putting on to amuse the Admiral's swads. I reckon the rest of the crew'd be back on land, looking to snap the shackles on a fresh herd of cattle. And just to prove my theory right, one of them jolly bastards got himself spotted creeping about the Ruffmans in Lower Lenosha. There's a Bennett Cove over at the Morabay dry docks by the name of Sweswert, and what'll likely know the full story. He's more than a shipwright than a rogue these days, but he keeps his glazes keen for the guild. Head on over there and have yourself a prattle, and I'll join you soon like. Hey, I know what you are. What can old Swineswert do for you? Hunting down the Jolly Merchant slavers? Ah, well that explains a few things. I was keeping an eye on the bustle about the dry docks, you see, when I spied the odd trio off in the distance. This rough-looking sod, one of your pirates I'd wager, was prying along with another bloke and this poor skinny lass. I've seen them whipped curs less miserable than the two being herded. Last I saw they were headed south. If what you're saying about the slavery business is true, then the Jolly Merchant's not going to walk his charges all the way to the market. No, he'll likely have his boat waiting for him. And if I were a slaver headed south, my vessel would be hidden somewhere along the salt strand. That doesn't leave you much time. You said Jack was on his way, yeah? You'd best go on ahead and I'll point him in the right direction when he gets here. Swore scent came through for us, eh? Now what do we got here? This one looks like a charmer. Sodded move, I told you. My pig-legged grandma obbles quicker than you miserable sacks of shite. Or maybe you need another thrashing, is that it? You already forgot what happens when you try me generous patience? I'm sorry, please, no more beatings. We walked as fast as we could, but we need food and water. Then get in the boat and shut your traps. You'll get fed when we reach the other side. The other side? Where are you taking us? Are you challenging me or just plain daft? I told you to keep your bleating mouth shut. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. Leviathan's scaly arse, she's weeping again. Listen, we're headed to Ailport, alright? And that's where me and my shipmates gather to take stock of the merchandise and decide what gets sold where. You see, some buyers want only lads while others is looking for lasses. As long as we keeping those rich bastards happy, we make more coin than we ever did scamping with the Empire's war galleys. Not that you care about it, I suppose. What matters is that you'll be loaded into the Jolly Merchantman, sailed off to God's know where, and Limsel will be distant memory. So if I was you, I'd fill that empty belly with one last big gob full of sweet Launosian sea breeze. I'm sort of tempted to put a blade twixt his eyes here and now, but that won't get the job done. No, we'll let him guide us to his mates in Ailport. Then we'll mill the whole bloody lot of them. The Jolly Merchants will get their due, don't you worry about that. They've gone. We'd best hurry to Ailport unless you've a quicker way. There's a ferry what leaves for Candlekeep Quay. I'll meet you across the water, lass. Tolucc, that Jolly Merchantman's covel's still waiting with his captives. Seems they've taken a room under an alias. Hiding their operation in plain sight. Bold as brass, eh? But it's an old slaver's trick. See, even if the coal recognizes the merchandise, only a single handler gets boned. The rest of the crew just whistles all innocent-like while their mate is marched off to the croc cockles. And you can bet they've threatened bloody murder for any prisoner what raises a hue and cry. Patience now, lass. We'll just wait until to make sure that all these blackguards have arrived. Meanwhile, you better sharpen your stabbers. We have a busy night ahead of us. Ready for the job then? Once the Jolly Merchants are all here, we'll ambush the sods and set their captives free. That ought to be long enough. We'll just have to hope there ain't any stragglers. Listen closely now, lass. The merchants will disguise as plain old venturers and have settled themselves in 3 separate rooms here in Ailport. How do we whittle which coves are the merchants? Easy. Take a look at the daddles of the bingo swell's coal over yonder. He's wearing lavender gloves, the exact same type that nasty sod at the salt strad had on. That'll be how we find each other in the crowd. Of course, it's also how I whittled where each of the bastards was staying, just slinching the hopeless gazes of the company they keep, and they can be sure they found their mark. And so here's the job all laid out for you. We hit all 3 common rooms, mill the merchants quick and dirty like, and get those captives their bleeding lives back, alright? Oi! The storeroom's door been forced open, some thieving sod's been at the ale. Well, they can't have gotten far. Better get the lads and do a sweep of the port. Ugh, was that the Merchant Cove Gulpin Pilfered Ale? You'd think they'd be doing their best not to draw attention to themselves, to all things considered. Bloody oafs. And now we've got a swarm of yellow jackets buzzing about looking for blood. If they spot us wandering round in the darkments, I have a feeling they'll axe us before they ask questions. It'd best be then, if the patrols never ever knew we was here. We'll slip as sneaky as we can into each of the common rooms and use them telltale lavender gloves to identify our marks. There's innocent coals in there as well, mind, so let's not try to trap anyone that don't deserve it, I'm thinking we should head out in one at a time to better avoid the yellow jackets, so I'll let you take the lead. After you, Tolucc. Not a bad night's work, eh, Tolucc? The Maelstrom will be taking care of them poor coals we freed, and I've made sure none of the merchants we downed are like to get up again. As for the Jolly Merchantman, well, her crew can expect a visit from the Admiral's finest galleys, and it won't be for a tea and crumpets on the poop deck. Right, me Ned lass. Our part in this is done. Time to head back to the sisters. Excuse me, are you the ones who freed us? Aye, was there something else we could do for you, miss? The Maelstrom swords will take you home if that's what you're worried about. Oh no, I wanted to thank you. If I may, there was one other thing. I wish to tell you, moments before you rescued me, that dreadful pirate was muttering into his cups. 'Twas something about another raiding party that hadn't yet made it back. I beg your pardon? It seems they've been hunting for slaves in western Lenosha, and being so close to Ailport, our captor assumed they were out rounding up chattel until last bell. I couldn't bear the thought of anyone else suffering as I have. Please, is there naught you can do? There certainly is, miss. You just got yourself safely home and leave this stray pack of jackals to us. I'll pray for your success. Thank you again. So much for savoring a victory pint. I'll send word of this development to the Underfoot and the Stray. We've some well-earned trade for this last of these jolly merchants. By and by, how's your throwing arm, Tolucc? I think it's time you learned how to feel for a proper blade. When you're out in the wide open, ruffians you often find they need to sting to cove from a distance. And I'm sure a candy lass like yourself will figure all sorts of uses for a well-thrown dagger. Just keep it in mind when we hunt down the rest of them slavers. Jack is determined to track down the remnants of the Jolly Merchants. Those last few Jolly Merchants bastards must be camped out somewhere in western Lenotia. Now, if I was a block-blooded, gill-grubbing slaver, where would I be hiding? There's naught to this west of the Singing Pools. Even those bollocks for brains pirates know better than to trespass on fishback territory. And they won't chance the running into the patrols near airport, so that just leaves us east. The flock? Aye, that'll be likely where they're nestled down, in the ruins out there amongst the dodos. That's where we'll try to pick up their trail. You head over there and silch the place while I send word to the sisters in the maelstrom. Thank you for freeing us. We've been tied up here since those awful pirates snatched us from our beds. Those are some interesting looking dodos you've got there, Tolucc. No sign of the merchants though, eh? Their leader mentioned heading over to Elport. He said something about there being no signal, and that was a signal that something was wrong. They just left us, hobbled there like lambs for the market. One of them japed about keeping the meat unsullied in case there was trouble. Pray, let us flee this place before they return. And who are you to just sidle in and let loose our hard-won prizes, hmm? 'Twas the damnedest thing. We'd half a crew lodging in Elport and not one of 'em survived the night. Done in by a couple of sneaky curs what favored the short blades, they say. I'm supposing that was you two? Seems you have a bone to pick with our choice of trade. I can't say as I've much use for slavers, except as a place to bury me knives. Oh, and I wouldn't bother yourself with waiting on your ship to come back neither. The Jolly Merchants are done for. Hey, you might have the right of it, lad. But you wouldn't know the kind of coin the healthy slaves like them ones will bring us. I've a new ship and a new crew afore a single moon has passed. You hear that, chattel? You keep worth a shining bloody fortune and you've me to thank for help and you learn the true worth. Ignore this bleeding sod. In fact, why don't you step back a ways? These coves are about to learn the consequences of breaking the code, and that discussion is like to get messy. Did you not think we'd come for you? You can try and stifle your victim's screams in the darkmans, but the shadows are always listening. thank you. I shudder to think what horrid fate awaited us had you not helped us to escape. I knew someone would come. You're just like the heroes in the stories. They always arrive at the perfect time and triumph over the villains. Do you think I could be a hero like you? I know I could be brave and strong too, I just know it. You don't want to be like me, lad. Listen now, me and those coves there, we're the ones that what the scary folk are afraid of, and that's because we keep the rules for the world they live in. We don't much care if you shirk your chores or get into fights, but if you ever break the code and betray your mates, then that's what will come after you, no matter how far you run or, well, you hide. Live your life like the hero you want to be, though, and you'll never need to worry about that. Hey, you two can stubble it on all. I assume you are the citizens who were abducted by the Jolly Merchants? I am Captain Milala of the Yellow Jackets. Maelstrom Command has entrusted me with conducting you to safety. It's alright, lad. These folks will take care of you. Go on, you best not get left behind. Was there aught else, Captain? Word on a new job? A job? From me? For you? How patently absurd! Why, I'd rather hire a sewer rat to mind my larder. Was it during one of your jobs that you turned Elport into a slaughterhouse? What dark age is this that we must employ assassins to enforce the law? It is this continued alliance with the underworld miscreants such as you that prevents Limsa Lominsa from ever fully expunging the stain of tyrannical infection. Look at these weapons you bear. A civilized person uses such implements to carve meat or peel fruit and leaves them at a table where they belong. Do you perhaps clench them twixt your teeth as you swing over rails like the pirates you hunt? Our fair city has no place for those who refuse to abandon their brutish ways of the past. The only champions of justice this nation requires are the valiant and forthright soldiers of the Yellow Jackets. Jack, what the bloody hells does this Cole want with us? I've not the foggiest idea, love. Just smile and nod. I've not come here to be patronized. I've come to put a decisive end to the piracy in all its forms. Consider this visit a gauntlet thrown at the collective feet at the Rogues Guild. Heed my words. Just before dawn this very morn, a maelstrom vessel stoked with provisions was boarded and looted by pirates. Much of the cargo was stolen, and that is vexing indeed, but it is the theft of 3 items in particular, 3 unique treasures of nay incalculable worth, that most distresses my marital colleagues. As for the brigands, they made well their escape, disappearing into the dawn's mist along with their precious plunder. A rum tale? What's it to do with us? I challenge you, a contest to reclaim these stolen treasures. Should my Yellow Jackets and I succeed in retrieving the greater share, I shall formally propose the abolition of the Rogues Guild. Upon review of our achievements, the Admiral will surely concede that your unscrupulous institution has outlived its usefulness. Ah, blow it out your waddle. I've better ways to spend my time. Oh, do you now? This incident constitutes a theft against the nation of Limsa Lominsa. Does that not violate your beloved code? If I'm not mistaken, you've no choice but to rise to the occasion. Unless, of course, you mean to slink back into your hole and abandon the fundamental precepts of your duty. Alright, you screeching screw. You've made your bloody point, and you'll be sorry that you did, I promise you that. Your paltry promises amount to naught in the face of my conviction. I shall not rest until Limsa Lominsa is free of every last buccaneer, scoundrel, and shadow-dwelling ne'er-doer. What now, Jack? For right now, we head back to the sisters. Look, you couldn't head inside? For a wee lass, that Malala's got some bollocks, and it ain't seem she's well done with aught what whiffs o' pirate stock. I don't take kindly to Cole's pulling me strings, but the shrew is right. The code's been broken and we've got a job to do. From the sounds of it, though, them coves knew what they were about to do when they cloyed them treasures. I'll need you at your best. It's time you learn the art of mugging. Round up a Cole in just the right way and he'll give up more money than what he'd give if you just plain knocked him on his arse. Me and the lads will be busy whittling the story on them bitten baubles, so you're free to head out and sharpen your skill. Might even be as you pocket some extra blunt while you're at it, eh? Jack appears eager to hunt down the Maelstrom's stolen treasures. Been practicing your steps, Tolucc? Because you're about to run rings around Captain Malala and her swads. The Yellow Jacket's been pressing the investigation into the treasures, what was cloyed from the Maelstrom tub, but as you know, we've got our own network of coves and that don't miss none of the goings-on about town. As for the sharp end of the job, it'll be you, me, Underfoot, and the Stray. Let's get down to business, eh? The Keb's late to the feast, so I'll just make sure we're all on the same page for now. When you get down to it, we have two goals for this job. Bite back them 3 treasures and mill the coves what cloyed them in the first place. You can be sure that the Yellow Jacket shrew will be doing her damnedest to beat us to the marks, and seeing as the fate of the guild is at stake, we best not drag out do beaters on this one. I say we grapple the baubles before she's even lifted anchor and give her a proper reason to rage against us rogues. You seem awful keen on this contest all of a sudden, Jack. Well, there's the thing. I sent me a grievance to the Tolucc regarding the shrew's challenge, but them paper shufflers don't care a whit as long as one of us gets the job done. So I figured I'd sail with the wind rather than against it. Besides, we wouldn't want to shirk our duties and poor force Captain Malala to blunder about in the scary darkness now, would we? How very gentlemanly of you. Well, them's the cards, what we've been dealt, ain't they? Now, stow your quips and let's hear what you've learned about them bloody treasures already. Aye, the treasures. According to the manifest of the Maelstrom vessel, we're looking to bite back the Cerulean Star, the Silver Sorrows, and something called the Black Sarcophagus. Aside from the fancy names, I was able to whittle a few more details. The Cerulean Star, for starters, it's a big old blue diamond that shines like a star, I suppose. Then we've got the Silver Sorrows, a pair of earrings, what with once graced the waddle of Sultana Vulda. And there's a tell there, but that don't concern us at present. Lastly, this Black Sarcophagus thing, I'm afraid that one remained a mystery no matter how much I poked and prodded. In any case, all 3 of these trinkets was recorded as spoils from official privateering raids. Now, as you know, a pirate will usually sell his plunder through a reliable fence. Sometimes, though, holding an auction is the only way to offload goods. What is it, too extravagant or just too bleeding rare for the average Cole to deal in? Our 3 wondrous treasures fell into the auction-only category. When the bidding began in Aleport, the Tolucc weighed in with a simple purse, made some unmatchable offers, and organized a tub for the merchandise to be shipped back to Limsa. And that's when our marks swooped in and picked up the transport clean. I had a few wids with the Maelstrom sailors that survived the attack, and they pointed the finger at grinning curs. Problem is, not one Cole's seen hide nor hair of the curs, not to mention their bloody ship since the raid. Sorry I'm late, Jack, but you'll want to hear this. Some of the cargo, what was coyed from the transport, was just found during a routine inspection at the Lethagran checkpoint. Lethagran? Have the curs made landfall then? And what are the treasures? Any mention of them? Not that I've heard, but the jacket's done shanking out all the boxes yet. Then we better get our eyes out there quick like. Tolucc, underfoot, you're fresh for a run, ain't you? Come on, lass, I'll race you to the checkpoint. I won our race. You owe me a pint, Tolucc. Japes aside, though, it looks like Vikeb was right about the cargo. From what I've been able to catch from the swads at the gate, it seems as the peddler was boned for carrying goods with no one aboard the transport. They carted the poor sod away in chains, but the cargo itself is still in there. I saw a pair of jackets carrying boxes up that wooden ramp. We need to know what's in them crates. I get the feeling they won't open their games for asking. Not while the Fool's Challenge is going on. Do you think you could skulk over there and see if they found them treasures yet? This is all junk. No diamond, no earrings, and no bloody black sarcophagus. Looks like we'll have to lean hard on that skinny peddler if we're to find them treasures. The sergeant says the merchant's still pleading ignorance. Claims he was hired to carry the goods to the checkpoint and not else. What a pile of pugil shite. I'm guessing the privates will split the cargo and they're trying to luck at every checkpoint. Captain Malala has already given orders to double the guard and inspect every cart and wagon what comes through. So they found not a value, eh? Bene. Thought we'd lost the contest before we even properly started. But be that as it may, something don't add up here. Why would you order a coal to carry the goods through the checkpoint? No smuggler is that daft, surely. And even if by some miracle the goods did squirm through Legrand without raising a fuss, why would you risk taking merchandise back to the city with to cloyd it from? No, there's a bigger picture here and we need to take a step back to see it. Assuming the Curs hired the peddler to do their dirty work, there'll be someone in the shadows as brokered the deal. And I just so happen to know a cove what makes the business to oversee these kinds of shady arrangements. The thing is, this black marketeer bloke changes his haunts depending on how the breeze blows. Quite literally, in fact. I seem to recall the Navigator's Veil being shifted by a westernly this morning. So that'd put him... at Tiller's Rest. Nice and close. Why don't we go ask him a few questions before we head back to the guild? I pride myself on my memory for faces, but yours is unknown to me. Are you an earnest customer or an inquisitive annoyance? I must be sure of your intentions. The dance is old, but the name is new. Put away your daggers, rogue. I have peddled my wares to your kind since the upright thieves stalked me in the night. Speak! What would you have of this humble merchant? Still tormenting the colts, eh, Granddad? We've come from information on the smuggling job. There was this peddler what was caught at the Lachagran checkpoint, moving merchandise for the grinning curs. Pleaded innocence even when he had the screws put to him. You wouldn't know aught about that deal, would you? Every last sordid detail. Not a single grain of stolen sand passes through the shadows without my knowledge. But such prickly wisdom lodges tightly in one's throat. What have you brought to ease the pain of this passage? Spare me the theatrics, Granddad. Here's your usual purse. The sum is paid. The deal is made. May my answers sate your fickle hunger. Your hapless peddler was indeed innocent. He was but a beast of the burden employed by the associates of the grinning curs, and likely knew naught of this freight's tainted nature. A pawn, if you will, a convenient decoy. These are those amongst my acquaintances who specialize in providing such services. Ah, that's what I thought. The curs wanted that coal to get caught, and now the jackets have had a taste. They'll waste their time yaffling every shite pie that comes through the checkpoints. Meanwhile, the real treasures are hidden away in the Darkmans, along with the grinning curs. Not the Darkmans, Master Rogue, the Mist. Aside from the traveling merchant, the curs' associates have spent coin on another piece for this little game. A navigator. One who is practiced in piloting a vessel through the Doxy's Pool. The Doxies? The gods only know how many ships have sailed into that fog soup and never come out again. And that's what you say the curs have gone to ground? Now there's a trick that looks like some bollocks. Once their hunted tub was sitting dimmer in the mist, though, it would have been easy to have these associates of theirs ferry that junk goods to Lenosha. Then the canny coves just needed to wait for the peddler to get boned and draw the glazes of the Yellow Jackets inland? We need to strike now. As soon as they learn the coast is clear, they'll flee for open waters. A fair appraisal of events. Now that you know the location of your marks, however, it will not be so difficult to track them down. The Doxy's Pool was once an impenetrable shroud, but ever since the calamity, the mists are less constant. Narrow your search to the heaviest banks, and you'll soon uncover those who wish to remain unseen. But now, a warning. The mists conceal other dangers besides the dogs you seek. A careless step may land you upon the chopping block. The chopping block? You can't mean... Seems I found myself another lead to look into. You hurry on back to Jack and tell him what we learned so far. Coming in again? About time, lass. He was gone so long I almost sent the stray after you. What happened to Underfoot? So our marks and their bitten baubles are snug inside the Doxy's Pool, eh? I'll not discount the old man's warning, but we may not have been our chance to crash the curs and grabble them treasures. We board their ship right now. You, me, and Vakib. Suppose we'll be needing ourselves a tub for the voyage. I'll have winds with the Seashrint, and see what the dry docks can spare us by way of a ship and a reliable crew. Get your kit together and meet us there. Alright, Tolucc, I've pulled in some favors and there's a crew what'll get us close enough to scamper aboard the Cur's vessel. It'll be cramped up on that deck, but If we try to mill the whole lot at once, we'll soon find ourselves up against the rails, so we gotta go in quick and quiet and try to knock them off a few at a time. Well, lass, are you eager to test your sea legs? Jack, I found me one of the treasures. Unless there's another fist-sized blue diamond on board, it's gotta be the Cerulean Star. As for the other two baubles, I've tossed the cabins and been through the hold ilm by ilm, but there's naught else here. Well, we'll just have to ask all sweet-like, won't we? Spit it out, cur. Where are you keeping the rest of your treasures? Ha! You'd think I'd spill me guts for the likes of you, rogue? Maybe you wouldn't, at that, but what with this partner you're working with? We don't need no partner. So you're telling me this was all your own idea? You woke up one day and decided you'd attack a maelstrom transport right off the coast of Elport, then disappear into the loving embrace of the Doxy's Pole? Not exactly your style, is it? The grinning curs are too bleeding famous for being the crew what turned their snouts up to privateering in favor of keeping to the old ways. You've only escaped the Yellow Jacket's grip this long by crawling on your bellies and snatching scraps what fell from the table. You ain't the type to sink your teeth into a Navy-owned vessel, no matter the prize. Aye, well, maybe there ain't no profit in being cautious no more. The age of pirates is swift coming to an end. Merlweb won't be stopped, not by a piddling light crew like mine. That's why we've thrown our lot in with the executioners. The Blue Rock was just our share of the loot. The scraps from the table, like you said. If you want them other trinkets, then you'll have to take it up with their new mates. One job at a time, lass. First we need to get these stinking covers and their tub back to the docks. Putting aside the issue of who gave the order, there's no doubt that these was the covers as raided by the Maelstrom ship. Now for a punishment, what fits the crime? I was informed that a certain well-known pirate ship was spotted weighing anchor at the Morbay dry docks. I assume this was your work? Aye, you missed all the excitement, Captain. But never you mind, the Cerulean Star is back and bobbin as our sneaky little fambles. And these must be the grinning curs. Degenerate fiends! How dare you ply your filthy trade in Laminsan waters? How many innocent sailors were massacred that you might sate your vile avarice? Every one of your kind ought to be lined up and shot. A musket ball is the only answer for this rampant display of lawlessness. Wait. Do you mean to just execute them here on the bloody docks? At least take the buggers into custody first. Handing them over to you for a lawful punishment will satisfy the demands of the code just as well. We've already got the answers to our questions, so feel free to take them away. Do not presume to give me orders, rogue. You only managed to capture these villains on their ill-gotten treasure by employing unsavory and unconstitutional means. Why, you're not more than the pirate yourselves. These bastards ain't worth a true pirate's spit. The upright thieves was formed to protect us from ourselves. Now they're just hunting dogs for the admiral. Merwolf yanks the leash and another buccaneer disappears. You rogues are traitors to your own kind. If it hadn't been for you... go on then. Blame me and me coverage for your own failures. You know what you were doing when you defied the code. You knew that we'd be after you. We're done here. There's still 2 treasures left, rogue, and I mean to claim them both. I'd reconsider this contest of yours, Captain. Turns out this fish we're trying to hook is a shark, and it might just swallow you whole. Come on in. Been a work on that ship, Tolucc. First blood is ours. How'd you take to fighting the sea? There are few can drop an opponent as quick as a rogue, but mind you, don't exhaust yourself just flailing your blades at the toughest coves. And that goes double for when your matter's on flank. If you notice yourself starting to flag, there's not wrong with pulling back from time to time and staggering your attacks with each other to keep the pressure on. I've said it afore, lass, but I'll need you sharp enough to carve steel for what's to come. I'm afraid this will be more of a challenge than even what little shrew was bargained for. That's assuming the curs wasn't lying about the executioners, and the executioners who are, I bloody think, are twixt you and me, though I'm hoping the name is just some laughable coincidence. Jack wishes to discuss the plan for recovering the remaining treasures. Oh there, Tolucc, we have a rough job ahead of us, and that's a fact. Matters are tangled enough, what with Milala Mort snapping at our heels, but we still managed to grapple the first trinket without too much fuss. Biting back them other 2 treasures, though, that'll be a different story. Once the stray gets here, I'll explain what, or more to the point, who, we're up against. Alright, we have 2 baubles left on the list, the Silver Sorrows and the Black Sarcophagus. Let's see where they're at. Oh, oi, where's Beermule got to? Underfoot? He's still looking to whittle the tail behind that bleeding sarcophagus. We'll not be cloying that stickler until we've at least an inkling as to what the bloody thing looks like. Treasures aside, I've been doing some digging of my own in these executioner allies of the Grinning Curs, and I'm afraid the name weren't no coincidence. Tolucc, you've heard of the bloody executioners, I hope? It seems them curs was feeding from the fambul of one of the greatest nation's pirate powers. This ain't no ordinary crew of cutthroats, lass. Within Limsa Laminsa, the bloody executioners wield a power and influence second only to the Admiral herself. There was none too fond of Merlwib or her prohibition on piracy, and it was only the overwhelming threat posed by the Garlean Empire would eventually convince them to play nice with the Thalassery. But pirates ain't ones to play nice for long. Now that Heifer ain't around to helm the ship, the solidarity of the bloody executioners has begun to show cracks. All the strongest captains and lieutenants have begun to form their own factions and are scrambling to claim the top chair for themselves. Of course, not one bloody cove can agree with another on which way the executioners ought to sail. Among these new factions, though, is a group of what's pushing to break free of the Admiral's grip completely. Turns out these reformists, as they call themselves, was the ones that took the grinning curs under their wing. Which means they've got possession of the last two treasures we've yet to cloy. Rumors round town say that even for the executioners, these covers are bloody and ruthless and not to be crossed. We should sit this one out, Jack. Piss on Malala's contest. It ain't worth this kind of grief. We'd be inviting the wrath of a crew so large and dangerous that even the Admiral ain't keen on coming to blows with them. If they even came after us... Large or small, it don't much matter. They broke the code when they hit that maelstrom tub. Aye, the grinning curs are paying for that crime, but we'd be poor sawing excuses for rogues if we let the real culprits carry on unpunished. I mean to see this job to the end, and that means biting back them treasures and handing out proper justice to them that deserve it. But Jack! Listen. We all are in fighting going at the present. Us stabbing a short blade into one faction's toe ain't like to bring the whole executioner crew down on our heads. Besides, them reformist buggers are so far split from the main mob that they've been avoiding the city altogether. Now, it's about time we go to work. Tolucc, you're to track down our black market contact. I sent him to looking into the Cur's new allies a while back, so he should have some answers for us by now. The veil was lifted by us suddenly this morn. That'll put the old man at haunt in Lower Neosha. Here, take this sack of blunt and pay a visit to the House of Sticks. This is kobold territory if you didn't know. The old man's bribes are with ore and hires the biggest and meanest sods as bodyguards. Just be ready for your approach to be challenged. Welcome to the House of Sticks, young rogue. You must excuse my hireling's enthusiasm for greeting visitors. Now, have you any cumbersome baggage of which I might relieve you before we begin our conversation in earnest? A heavy burden for one of your tender years to bear, but its weight has balanced the scales. The sum is paid and the deal is made. Let us speak of these reformists. This faction that so wronged the code now seeks to peddle one of its stolen treasures, the earrings better known as the Silver Sorrows. The deal, it is said to take place at Costa del Sol. The buyer? A moneyed merchant from the golden sands of Olda. The earrings will be out in the open, vulnerable. I would target the moment of transaction were I so inclined, as the gentleman up there by the cabin appears to be, for he has purchased this self-same information. Though he attempts to disguise his identity, the stench of a soldier yet lingers. I know not where one such as he came to learn of my existence, but I suspect he works for a certain yellow-coated captain. Brave she is, but foolish. Stumble blindly into the underworld, and your groping hands will not save you from the holes at your feet. Sudden shall be her fall. Welcome. Welcome back, Tolucc. What information did the old man have on them reformists? Looking to unload them earrings, are they? And to an olden, no less? Can't say I'm surprised to hear as the buyers from out of town. You won't find many Laminsons willing to melt coin to cover their selling. Only the daftest Assads would go about funding them as a means to pull down the admiral. Eh? One of Malala's lackeys arrived at the house afore you? How did to know? Them curs we captured must have cackled during the shrew's interrogations. We'll have to assume the Yellow Jackets know what we know, and that means we'd best get our arses to Costa del Sol right bleeding now. I'll handle this one, Jack. You and Tolucc can wait here for Perimeru. Oi, Vikeb, what in the hell's is she playing at? After her last, she knows this ain't her solo job. I told you to wait at the guild. I don't need... well... it might be as I could use an extra mort in the shadows after all. Jack has his mind set on punishing the executioners, but me? I just want to skulk in, cloy them silver bits, and skulk out. I reckon that if I could manage that with no one the wiser, they wouldn't know who to come after. Finish the job without drawing me daggers, you know? It ain't exactly true to the code, but the shield of the underworld honor won't stop them bloody killers from cutting me mates' throats and setting the sisters a glimmer. The guild's the only place would offer to take in a pirate stray like me, and I'll not see it burn to the ground. The deal's about to start. Say the wind, and we'll bend aid to the head in. Alright, here's what we know. The rich merchant what's come over from Olda is some old maid of Master Agudgeru. The Cole is owns the Costa del Sol. Gedgeruju's taking his guards and dancing bells and pranced off down to the beach someplace, giving over the use of the entire resort to his friend. Seems she didn't want an audience for the bargain with the reformists. Which, as it happened, works out well for us. We'll wait until they're busy haggling over price and snatch the sorrows and hop a twig before they realize the ought's amiss. Sounds like a plan? There. The players arrive. The reformists, coin counter, and the olden buyers setting up on the southeast platform. The earrings ought to be nearby. Hang about. Who are all these other coals? This place was meant to be empty. I see some nasty looking blokes in olden garb and are those mammoths? Ugh, this merchant brought along a whole bloody entourage. I've gone ahead of myself. I should have realized this job never be that easy. We'll have to mill a few of them bodyguards first, I reckon. You don't want to fight through a forest of blades should you get caught sneaking about up on them narrow walkways. Jack, I thought I'd... Stow your excuses, love. I know full well what you were about. Start going soft on us, though, and it'll be like losing one of me arms. I can't take on the bloody executioners all by myself. It's only 'cause I've got rogues like you and Underfoot and Tolucc here that the guild can take the jobs it does. When our coves walk the shadows, it's the bleeding pirates what do the trembling. Remember that, Vikeb. We ain't some two gill robbers what pissed their breeches when the daddles caught us in the honeypot. We're the knives and the darkmans. Ain't no bastard wants to go blade to blade with the likes of us. I see you've not changed your mind then. You'll need all the stabbers you can get, and I promise mine'll be there when you need 'em. Bonnie. Now let's carve a path to the platform and bite them earrings. Vikeb, you hide yourself down by the docks in case the marks escape during the fighting. Tolucc, you and me'll split up and mill the guards as we go. It's them puppets that concern me most. I suggest you crash them little buggers before they can spring any rum fun. Creep in as close as you dare, then give them a good solid clout from behind. Hey, this is the most original strategy, but it don't make for any less lethal. Once you're done with the first group, slip back into shadow and move on to the next. Not to it, eh? I'll head over to the back while you start from the front. Let's wrap this up before them jackets blunder in and scare off our marks. Rogues? No one mentioned aught about rogues. What in the hells do you think you're doing? I'm conducting a business transaction on behalf of the bloody executioners. Do you understand what that means? Do you know what they'll do to you? Aye. I'm all a-frightened. Odd, then, that you're the ones who's shaken. It don't do much matter to me who you work for. Your boss broke the code and we're here to collect. Those be the Silver Sorrows, then? I'm sure they paid you a caravan of coin for them shiny baubles, but I doubt they're worth your life. Let's have them, then. Wait, damn you! You should know that this personage is an extremely influential member of the East Eldoran Trading Company. Surely you've heard of it. If the threat of reprisal will not stay your hand, then consider the political ramifications of interfering with a foreign dignitary. The Admiral would not desire you to damage Limsa's relations with Ulda. Yes, exactly. I'm a very highly placed in Ulda society. I have a very powerful friends who will not be pleased were you to mistreat me in any fashion. You must understand the Silver Stars are a historical treasure, a gift once bestowed upon the Sultana Nanansha ul Nasha by her champion. The earrings were later stolen from the royal vault and we'd lost them forever of recovering them. That I might so easily purchase them thus is a miracle. The return on these trinkets will be, that is to say that the sorrows must be returned to Ulda. Can you not look the other way for the sake of my nation's pride? You must think of me as some dull-witted thug. If this deal was being made on behalf of your country, then why are you sneaking about and consorting with pirates? An excellent point. One might doubt your quality of character were you to continue with these feeble fabrications. You need only entrust those earrings to me, should you truly wish to see them returned to Ulda, that is. After all, 'twas to fulfill the very purpose that the Thalaskari bid on the sorrows in the first place. Bit late there, aren't you, Captain? I think you'll agree this round belongs to us. On the contrary, my dear scoundrel, I made the winning move the moment I knew we were dealing with the merchant of Ulda. I come bearing an official order of seizure, authorized by the Admiral herself. You will not be harmed, but I must insist that you cooperate with this reclamation of unlawfully obtained goods. Though Costa del Sol is private property, it nevertheless lies within state-governed territory. Come along quietly and we not need inconvenience Master Gergeru any further. These suspects will be taken into Yellow Jacket custody, and do not concern yourself with the several sparrows. They'll be quite safe with me. Bah, the hells, take that canary-colored harpy. We might as well have handed the things to her on a velvet cushion. I'll go find Underfoot and help him with his digging. There's still the last treasure out there, and you can be sure the reformers won't be given up without a fight. Ah, you do that. Bene luck to you, love. Ah, there you are. You left before the event's truly decided, and I thought you deserved to know the score. The Ulden merchant has acquaintances at our request and surrendered the Silver Sorrows into our keeping. We've also apprehended the reformist accountant and will be holding him for further questioning. Oh ho, Bonin and Associate, oh the bloody executioners, you Yellow Jackets don't flinch from your duty, I'll give you that. And what's this I hear about you buying information, Captain? I thought you'd sooner die than associate with the elements of the underworld. I will do what I must to stay ahead in this challenge, and that Marketeer's knowledge was vital to this case. 'Tis true I might find his practices distasteful, but he is no pirate. It is the fading era of piracy, which I mean to consign the history books, and that chapter will never fully be closed until every pirate-spawned relic, including you and your guild, becomes a thing of the past. Valiant and forthright, these are the words by which the Yellow Jackets live. It is the manner in which we protect Limsa Laminsa. I swore an oath on the graves of my sisters, no more shall the innocent suffer at the hands of these savage buccaneers, these unrepentant killers. And a grand oath it is. Me, I've got my fambles full just keeping the code intact. But the code is a kind of oath too, when you get down to it, and since I've sworn to uphold it, I've no intention of stepping aside and letting you trample all over me or my coves. In fact, you'd be better given on a foreign matters get proper serious. Just say you're sorry, admit defeat, and we'll leave it at that, eh? Your audacity knows no bounds. I'm done wasting words. I shall reclaim what last treasure, and then I'll look on the victorious as your guild is dismantled brick by brick. That's the spirit, Captain. Just don't forget to keep an eye on them earrings. The city's crawling with rogues, you know. You can keep the sorrows in a bloody lockbox in the Coral Tower, but look away for a moment and one of me coves will bite the beauties right back. Come on, Tolucc. It's back to the sisters for us. Come on in. Well, after all that hard work, the shrew made off with the spoils. And as far as her damn contest goes, I suppose that makes us even. It'll be the last treasure of this black sarcophagus that decides the victor. Whatever the reformists are doing to keep it bob, you can bet your grandmum's teeth there'll be some blade work needed before this job is done. Get yourself ready for a proper scrap, Tolucc. Jack's rogues have new information on the final missing treasure. I was wondering when you'd show up, Tolucc, but bugger me if you don't look ready to mill an entire crew of sods by yourself. And Benny, that you are, because we finally uncovered some hard facts about the last treasure. Won't be long now before we cloy the pennant win in peace and put this daft challenge to bed. Alright, I've gathered the other coves for our meeting, so let's get down to it. At bloody last, the black sarcophagus has given up its secrets. Underfoot, you've some news for us? Hi, Jack. I think half of our troublers are whittling the truth of the lay and calling this nasty thing a treasure. The black sarcophagus ain't no dimmer dauble. It's the Mark 51st Margitech mine, a bleeding prototype explosive that was bitten from the Imperial transport vessel. And even though it ain't that big, maybe the size of a small cargo box, they say the blast have enough kick to incinerate a bloody behemoth. Seems like Arlene's meant to start production at their factory in Lenosha, then distribute the mines throughout Castra Marinium. Luckily, some plucky privateer cloyed the prototype en route then, eh? An experimental weapon? That explains why the Tolucc was so bleeding eager to bid at that auction, and so reluctant to share the details with us. At least now we have the what, but there's still the question of where. The Curs delivered their bitten goods to the reformists, that much is certain. What happened at the sarcophagus after that, though, we ain't so sure. There have been no reports of huge explosions or the like, so either the executioners still have the mine, or they peddled it to some other buyer. The reformist faction came together out of their shared hatred for their admiral and her ways. I'm guessing they didn't cloy that bomb just to sell it. Well, what is it, Lonnie? A letter for you, Jack. It says it's urgent. A letter? Who's it from? The old man. I found it while I was sorting through our daily deliveries. Let's see now. Come to Thalos. I have urgent news. I never known the old man to summon a customer. No one's seen him at his usual haunts for a while. You reckon this is some rum morsel he's dug up just for us? Aye, it could be. Tolucc, you and me are headed to Thalos. Underfoot, Vikeb, you're to take another stab at pinning down the location of the sarcophagus. You're wasting your time, you darling. We opened that scrag's regal throat bells ago. You cross the bloody executioners and you get what's coming to you. Did you like our message? We wasn't sure if you'd fell for it, but a little mystery goes a long way, eh? Oh, now don't be like that, darling. Me and my mates didn't have much choice. When the boss says, go play with the rogues, we gotta go play with the rogues. After all, we never asked you to come ruin our game now, did we? And don't give me no long-winded speech about your precious code. The reformist vision stretches far beyond what them tired old rules is good for. Once Captain Escherber takes command of the executioners, he'll give us back the teeth we lost when we submitted to the Admiral's leash. We'll be the terrors of the sea once more, free to rove and plunder in a new age of pirate glory. And I'll bathe in the blood to see that age come to pass. I'll kick down your shite sneaking code and have all your sneaky ids by the chopping block. Like hell you will. The only sentence what's being passed today is yours. Well, hello there, darling. Ain't you a fine-looking lad? I've heard all this prattle afore. Free to pillage and plunder, is it? Aye, it all sounds grand, but don't think at a price. That shite sneaking code is the only thing what's keeping you bloody codes from milling one another. Without it, without Limsa Laminsa to call home, you'd be adrift in an ocean of quarrens. But if you're so keen to keep company with the dead, I'll be son happy to oblige. Ah, you was pretty of which gob shut, but I can see I'm out of me depth here. As much as I'd like to lop off your noggins, I'll have been satisfied with dragging the two of you into the wilds. Kept you well out of the way, haven't I? Out with it then! Ain't it obvious? You stubborn scrads is looking to swipe our new toy and my job was to stall you. The captain and my wiv is right now. He's set out to show the rest of the executioner that he's got the stone to sit in the leader's chair. And what better way to do that than executing the bitch what snapped the chains of our crew? He's targeting the Admiral herself. You're planning to blow up the command room, ain't you? Aye, and you have me permission to panic. Of course, if you'd rather steer clear of the city, I'd be glad to keep you company right here, sweet mate. We've got this mad Mort at our mercy, but she seems to be enjoying herself. I'd better drag her back to the guild and see what other information she'll spill. I'll need you back in Limsa as well, but you've business at the foremast first. You should find Captain Milala at her post there. Forget about the Sodden challenge and tell her everything we know. Unless me judgment's well off Kittler, she'll do what needs to be done. Oh, you're one of Jack's rogues. You've come to steal the sorrows, have you? Well, you shan't have them. As you can see, they're safely clasped upon my very own... You're not here for the earrings. The Admiral, you say? And you're sure these fiends are in possession of the sarcophagus? I must deploy more sentries at once. Do not think this voids our challenge, rogue, and you can relay as much of your impudent guildmaster. I suppose you can thank him for warning us as well. Come in. So, the jackets are on the move? Bene, I've been listening to that addled pirate cackle since I got her back to the sisters, but she's given us not. What did she already know? And we know more than enough. I say we rally the rogues and go after that mine. Before it blows up in our mums. You'll need all the edge you can for what's to come, so let's introduce you to the new trick. This one's called Shadow Fang. Do it right and you'll see your opponent start to wither afford you. Even the toughest swads will be wondering why their knees are trembling halfway through the fight. I tell you it's best to sink the Fang early, but I'm sure a clever lass like yourself will figure it out. Jack needs you to join his rogues in the effort to reclaim the Black Sarcophagus. If the leader of the reformists, this Captain Asheber, is planning on milling the Admiral with a bang, then my guess is he'll be aiming to demolish the entire command room. You know that mizzenmast, eh? The tower what holds the drowning wench in Bulwark Hall? The Admiral's bridge and her command room are right at the top of it. And you've got the district what surrounds the mizzenmast. That's the busy beating heart of the city. Even with the threat of an attack, you can just seal it up with a blink of an eye and call it the whole thing Bob. Try to explain the danger to the Coles what live and work there, and you'd have them frightened stampeding mobs at your frambles. Nay, lass, our only option is to have snitch on every approach to the tower. I'll put the wit out to as many coves as I can, spread them through the streets. Your job will be to cover the aft castle. Just wait and see, Tolucc. We'll get this Asheber, and his little bomb, too. Ugh, the fog picked a grand night to roll in thick. This'll make things interesting. Our presence on the streets is far too thin. Where are the reinforcements I ordered? My apologies, Captain. There just aren't any more soldiers to spare. The bulk of our forces have already been assigned to guard not only the Admiral, but a number of other high-ranking personnel as well. Unacceptable! What could Commander Raynor be thinking? There are dangerous criminals stalking the city as we speak. Call in the squads from the outposts if you must, but I want to see our security tightened and the populace properly protected. But, Captain, we can't be certain the pirates' plan hasn't changed. If we consider the possibility that they've switched to a target outside the walls, it would be folly to weaken those defenses. You've made your point, Sergeant. Return to your post. Once all is lost, it is far too late to question what one should have done. You seem troubled, sir. Perhaps I can be of assist. Ah! I've been dying to meet you, lass. Aye, keen to set eyes on the bold yellow belly what cost our crew a fortune of olden coin. You're an executioner. One of Eisenbergmen. You strayed too far into the world you don't understand, lass. Your eyes fixed on the light of justice, leaving you blind to the chasm opening up under your feet. At least they'll say you died with your boots on. Yellowbelly won't be bothering us no more, Captain. For the mine, the lads will have it primed in front of the wench by the time you get there. Good. Not long before we drag that bitch Admiral, her pretty tower, and all her simpler incurs down to the bottom of the sea. Then I'll raise our flag on the ruins of Mizzenmast and lead our brethren into a return to the old ways of blood and plunder. Should have not had that last bottle. Bottles? The wife is gonna kill me. What's that then? Not after the command room. They mean to bring down the entire tower. If the mizzenmast falls, the bridges will follow. Half the city will. Please, you must help me. The danger far greater than we. Bloody hell, it's alive. Oh, no, I didn't see nothing. Please, you must send word. Someone must be told. How did you... Your valiant and forthright weapon, you could hear the single pistol shot from Mom's away. Weren't hard to guess what had happened. I poked the yellow jackets on me way over. The hero will be along shortly. Bene, that means we've only one last thing to do. We have never been allies, but I beg of you. You must stop them. Save the city. Ah, lass, you know you don't need to ask. Taking down mad coves and biting back what's been bitten is our job. You all set then? Ready, Jack. Always. Now let's go cloy that sarcophagus and fit Ishbear for a new coffin. Status report. The mine has been disabled, and the engineers should soon have it safely removed. Our soldiers sustained some injuries in the battle with the reformists, but none were fatal. Also, the Admiral sends her sincerest gratitude. Look, there she is! That's Captain Milala, the hero of Limsa Laminsa! Are you recovered from your wound, Captain? We heard how you very nearly lost your life stopping the horde of pirates from blowing up the mizzenmast. 3 cheers for the Yellow Jackets! Our city'd be lost without you! But wait, that's not how it... Sergeant, what of the rogues? Did they survive the battle? I don't rightly know, Captain. All we found near the sarcophagus were the reformists, either dead or strung from the rafters. Alive, then. 'Twould seem we are deeply in their debt. Ah, Captain. Might I have the silver sorrows from you now? We've been ordered to hand them over to the Commodore, along with the black sarcophagus. Why, of course, they're right... The earrings! I could have sworn that I was still... He wouldn't have! He stole them from me while I lay dying? That cad! I knew he was not to be trusted! Keep an eye on them. Indeed, I should have known. Are you sure about this, Jack? We should have cloyed the sarcophagus as well. I think she's earned it, don't you? If it bothers you that much, think of it as a trade. If you ask me, they look a bit daft. Well, I didn't ask you. So the jackets ended up with the mine and we got the diamond and the earrings, which means victory belongs to the Rogues Guild. Do you think Milala will leave it at that then? I get the feeling we ain't done with her yet. I'd say we're done with her challenge, but you never know when our paths will cross again. We'll just have to see what Limsa's underbelly spits up next. Aye, the city ain't ever quiet for long. Well, it's been a pleasure working with you, Tolucc. If I ever need a trusty pair of stabbers by me side, I'll know who to ask. I'm off as well. Bloody starving I am. Don't forget to yaffle a bite when you can, eh, Tolucc? We'd best head back to the sisters, too, before the shrew decides she'd rather hear us cry cockles. Bene work, Tolucc. Be seeing you soon. Hello. Oh there, Tolucc. It'll be nice to finally have a bit of rest, eh? The job never ends, but even a dimmer dammer like myself needs to breathe every now and again. And your venturing mates must be wondering where we got to. That was a proper long assignment, but I'm glad you decided to see it through. You've proven to be a stalwart protector of the code. Even if this ain't truly your world, when you walk back into the Lightmans, we'll have you find your own code to uphold. And when you do, you'll have the skills you learned in the shadows to help you defend it. Well, that's more than enough prattle out of me. Your travels might take you far and wide, Tolucc, but you know you're always welcome here at the Sisters.